Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Legends Team Shop update number 10. This is the Team Shop update for December 2016, let's get right into it. Last month the new exclusive monster was Holter's pet and he's been replaced with Alces' pet. And I guess he hasn't really been replaced. If you really want him, you can still buy him in monster cell form, although he's a little more expensive, so I'll talk about that a little later. Anyways, right now we have Alces' pet, Holter's pet, Darmith's pet, and his price actually dropped. He used to cost 1.15k coins, now he only costs 1.05k coins. We still have General Nishant, and his price also went down. He used to cost 1.05k coins, and he's down to 1000 coins. General Holter is still here, and he actually dropped immensely. He used to cost 1000 coins, and now he's down to 800. So this means, this is just a prediction, but I'm pretty sure that next month General Nishant is also going to cost 800 coins. So I would hold off on buying General Nishant now, and I'd get him next month when he costs 200 coins less. And then we have General Alces, General Shannara, General Uriah. All of these three monsters were in the team shop last month, and they always cost 800 coins. So they're probably going to stay there for a while. And we have General Darmith also at 800 coins. Now one major change is that General Atum is no longer with us. Last month General Atum was available for 800 coins. And typically when the team shop refreshes, one of the generals that cost 800 coins, they get replaced. So it appears that this month will be the last chance to get General Darmith. After this month he's probably going to get replaced. General Uriah is going to be next in line to get replaced. Then Shannara, then Alces. Is pretty much going down the list. This also means that pretty soon Darmith's pet is going to be dropping to 800 coins. It pretty much looks like General Nishant will cost 800 coins next month. Darmith's pet will probably drop to 1000 coins, which means the next month, which would be February, he'll probably cost 800 coins. This is again my speculation based on what I've been noticing, but that's that. If you want to get General Darmith, now is probably your last and final chance to do so. Not necessarily your final chance, but your final chance to get him for 800 coins. Social Point will probably put him back in the team shop for 1.1k coins. We saw that with General Thetys, we might see that later on with General Atum. But if you want to get him at a good price and he's a really good fire monster, now is your chance. Moving along, we also have Thetys' pet, currently costs 1.15k coins. I would personally wait for this to drop to 800 coins. We have Cyan at 1.1k coins, and Cyan basically replaced Master Skill. So if you want a nature monster, she's a pretty good choice. We have Panda Explorer and iPug. These two epics, there's nothing too interesting about them. And at the very end, we have a lot of cells. Now, I'm not really going to be talking about cells because I don't think they're worth it. Although I think they're not worth it, there are some benefits. For example, if you wanted to get 100 cells, it would cost 1.5k coins. That's a lot, right? You can basically buy 2 generals at 800 with what you can buy 100 cells of just one monster. Now the thing is, if you wanted to get a general and turn him into 100 monster cells, first you would have to get that general. You would need to wait the 2 days for him to hatch. Once he hatches, you would need to feed that general up to level 100, which costs around 2.2 million food, which is a lot of gold. And then after that, you would have to extract him for cells, which also takes like upwards 1 day. So the whole process is pretty long and can be pretty costly, especially for new players. For people that have been playing the game a lot longer, people like myself, for me getting gold is no problem. For me getting food is no problem. Right now I have like 40 million food. So for me, buying cells is completely not worth it. And the only way cells can be beneficial is if maybe you have a team that will donate cells to you, and that way you don't need to spend that much. But really, I think the best bet is just to buy the general when it costs 800, buy the pet whenever they drop down to 800. So cells, I'm completely gonna not talk about. You're free to buy those at your discretion. So the epics I already talked about briefly, they're not the best. I wouldn't recommend getting them, but buy them at your discretion. And thus we'll move into Cyan. Now before I actually talk about each individual monster, giving you the pros and cons, like I start off all my team shop videos, the number one monster you should buy is to buy the monster you want. You don't need to ask for validation. You don't need to ask someone else if this monster is worth buying or if he's not worth buying. I don't know how many times I've seen a comment starting off, I really want to buy this monster, but I don't know if this monster is worth it. What do you think? Should I buy this monster? Because to me, you basically answered your own question with the first line of that sentence. I really want this monster, ... That means you personally want that monster. You might as well buy it. It's gonna make you happy. So just get that monster, forget about what other people think. Now once you've satisfied your own need and you have the monster you want, the monster that makes you happy, move on to step 2 and buy the monster that's going to help you progress in the game. If there's a monster in the team shop that's going to help you complete adventure map, buy that monster, especially if you're stuck in adventure map. If you're missing a particular element for team wars, let's say you have no thunder monster and you really need one, and you're holding off for Voltic hoping he goes on sale because you've heard that he's such a good monster, but in the meantime while you're waiting, every team war that involves a thunder monster, you're going to be losing because you don't have a monster to use, which means you don't have a monster on defense and you don't have a monster for offense. So my advice would be just to get yourself a thunder monster. You could always just make a breedable monster, but those aren't necessarily good. At least all of the generals, whether people may say they're good or not so good, they're at least better than all the breedables. So again, my second piece of advice, buy the monster that's going to help you progress in the game. If you're into doing team wars and you're missing a particular element, you're hurting your team and you're hurting yourself by not having a monster in that element, so just go ahead and buy one. And now that I've said that, I'm going to talk about each monster, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you guys who I would buy and in what order. So let's start things off with Cyan. Cyan. Cyan has a nice base power of 3465 for nature legendary monsters. This is the third highest, so she can be an attacker. But at the same time, she could also be a really good healer. She has a skill called Instant Force that heals all of your allies by 15%, and at the same time, it gives her an extra churn, which is great because she has another skill called Pure Force, which heals all of your allies by 40%. So in essentially what is one churn, I mean it's technically two churns because one skill gives her an extra churn, but you guys know what I mean. She can essentially heal your whole team by 55%. That is amazing, especially in something like survival dungeons. If any of your monsters take damage, Cyan is the perfect monster to heal them all to full life. And because of those skills and some other skills, she's also extremely hard to kill. She has two special base skills that deal 50 damage, and one of them gives her life regeneration and the other one recovers her life by 20%. So on a 1v1 against other nature monsters, she can be your best bet. And since Cyan is the revolving monster, every single month Social Point puts in a different legendary monster at the price 1.1k coins. I would certainly say she is worth buying. That is a fair price for her. And next we have Thetys' pet. This monster is probably the epitome of water attackers. Thetys' pet power is 3575. That is the highest power for water monsters, and that power is on par with a lot of other top attackers, especially lots of metal monsters. 3575 is just one of the best powers a monster can have. And on top of that, when you look at the skills, this is exactly what an attacker should have. All of Thetys' pet skills are like 60 damage and above. So there's a skill called Freezed Sea, which should honestly be called Frozen Sea. That's just, it's a lot easier to say. Anyways, it deals 60 damage and it freezes the enemy monster. So even if Thetys' pet can't finish off a monster in one hit, it can at least freeze it. It has another skill called Smashing Sea, which is also 60 damage, but instead of freezing, it stuns the enemy monster, which is perfect for going up against water monsters. Thetys' pet also has a 50 damage water-based AoE, a 65 damage skill that also recovers 50% of stamina, a 65 damage skill that also gives Thetys' pet double damage, and a skill called Precision Tornado that is 75 damage, and it gives Thetys' pet increased accuracy. So you can use Precision Tornado followed up with Water Vortex, you know it can be really deadly, or you can use Damaging Sea, that's a skill that gives Thetys' pet double damage, then follow that up with Water Vortex. Water Vortex is the 50 damage AoE, so a really powerful attacker. Now the main drawback to Thetys' pet is that all of the skills I mentioned, they're all water based. Thetys' pet has no special based attacks. Even though it's a legendary monster, all water based attacks. Still, if you've been looking for a water attacker, this is probably your best bet. When it drops to 800 coins, that's probably the best time to purchase it. Not to mention, it's also adorable. And now the rest of the monsters, I'm probably going to talk about them really quickly just because if you've seen my other Team Shop videos, it's going to be really repetitive because these monsters have always been in the Team Shop and I've talked about them so much. So if you want a more in-depth explanation of these monsters, I feel like just about all the generals I've done an analysis. If not, you can listen to my other Team Shop videos and get a lot more information there. Anyway, starting things off with General Darmith, he has a nice power, one of the highest, not the highest, but one of the highest for fire monsters. General Darmith is the fastest for fire monsters, along with Shalinar. They have the fastest base speed, and in terms of skills, one of his best skills called Dragon Berserker, he gives himself double damage, and at the same time, he ignores 50% of incoming damage for the following 2 turns. That's basically the same as him having double life. So for example, if General Darmith had 20k life, an attack would need to deal 40k damage in order to wipe him out. Now his best single hit skill only deals 55 damage, but it is special based and it gives burning, so that's nice. As far as AoEs, General Darmith has a 45 damage AoE and a 30 damage AoE that gives burning to enemy monsters, so pretty good all around, definitely one of the best fire monsters. And then we have General Uria. As you can imagine, because he's a thunder monster, he is always outclassed by Voltic and even Xyla the VIP monster, so a lot of people look at this monster and they think it's terrible. In my opinion, he's not that bad. In fact, when looking at his stats and skills, his power is pretty high. It's nowhere near being the highest for thunder monsters, but it is pretty high. It's 3,454. His life, 29,858. This is the highest life for thunder monsters, so he's incredibly tanky. So General Uria is best classified as an attacker, and when you look at his skills, he has a skill called Charged Boom. It deals 65 damage, it has a 1-turn cooldown. It has another skill called Electrified Attack. It's 60 damage, 1-turn cooldown, and it blinds the enemy target. Both of these skills deal special base damage, not thunder damage, so going up against the thunder monsters, he's a really good choice. And more importantly, because he has a high tanky life, because he has strong special base skills, he is the perfect monster to wipe out that Voltic. If you were to give this monster 2 strength runes, maybe even 1 really high level strength rune, given this monster's power and that 65 damage hit, that might be enough to take down a Voltic that has base life. I'm not entirely sure. If anyone wants to check it, feel free to do so, but quite possibly it might be enough. If 1 strength rune isn't enough, then for sure 2 high level strength runes is. And assuming 1 strength rune is all you need, then you can run 1 speed, 1 strength, and 1 life rune. And you want to use that life rune to make him extremely tanky because he has the highest life. So in Team Wars, if you were to go up against a Voltic and that Voltic was to attack you, it doesn't matter if he does static shocks, 50k volt, 20k volts, Electrodynamic Assault, that's a really weak special based attack. He's not going to take out Uria because he's doing thunder attacks against the thunder monster. So even if that Voltic was to use up all his stamina, because you're so tanky, it's going to be hard to kill Uria, and then Uria can hopefully take out Voltic in one hit. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to count Uria out. Of course, if you yourself have a Voltic or a Zyla, they will probably for a long time just dominate the thunder category. Nonetheless, still a pretty good choice. Next is General Shannara. With a base power of 3454, she has the second highest base power for magic monsters. She also has a 45 damage magic based AoE, and her other attacks, they don't deliver too much damage. They're 50 damage, but they do have a low cooldown, and one of them is actually a 0 cooldown special based skill that stuns, so going up against other magic monsters, that is extremely useful. Her other two magic based skills, one of them burns, the other one poisons. They both have a 1-turn cooldown, they both deal 50 damage, pretty good in my opinion. If you want a magic attacker, General Shannara is definitely a good choice. At the same time though, there's over 20 magic monsters, and if you were to compare General Shannara to all of them, I would say overall General Shannara is outclassed just because deny monsters are a lot stronger than attackers, and the magic element just has a bunch of great deny monsters. Next we have General Alces, and this monster has easily become one of my most favorite nature monsters to use. Whether on defense or offense, this monster is amazing. On defense, even though this monster is controlled by the AI, his skill set is so good that he's just so hard to kill. So for example, he has a skill called Bow Impact that stuns the enemy target, at the same time it gives him life regeneration. And he has another skill that can heal one ally by 100%. So can you imagine if you've taken out General Alces to like near death, and then he just recovers his life all the way, and then the following turn he stuns you, give himself life regeneration? He is so hard to kill. He also has a team heal skill that recovers everyone by 35%. If you want to run that, especially on a defensive build, that again becomes a lot harder to kill him. And for more offense, he has two 55 damage skills, one of which is nature based that poisons, the other which is special based that dazes. A really good monster overall. He's a really good nature monster overall. If you need a nature monster, and I imagine a lot of you do because there are not that many good nature monsters, he is definitely a prime choice. And next we have General Holter, and this monster is probably most well known for being the best at dealing spread damage. This monster has a skill that gives him double damage. He has an AoE that makes the enemy magnetized, and then he has a 45 damage metal based AoE. Now of course the setup for that is way too long, and in an actual match the enemy would probably be dead after you magnetize and then do the 45 damage AoE, but it's still pretty cool. Aside from that, he also has a special based single target 60 damage skill that also gives burning, so overall General Holter is a really great metal attacker. However, similar to with Shannara, there are so many metal monsters and so many good metal deny monsters at that I would say General Holter is actually outclassed. In terms of attacker though, he is definitely a good choice. And next we have General Nishant, great power of 3542. This is a dark attacker, and I said this with Holter and Shannara. Attackers, they're outclassed by deny monsters, but even in the dark category specifically, General Nishant is outclassed by attackers like Barbatos, Razul, the VIP monster Nox. However, this monster does have one of the best monster designs in the game. He has a 65 damage special based single target hit that also gives bleeding. He has a single target skill that makes one enemy very weak to dark attacks, so that's really good in Team Wars. And he has a skill called Shadow Form, which gives him a damage boost that's a 50% boost, gives him increased accuracy, and it gives him Phantom. And with Phantom, he basically ignores all incoming attacks for one turn. So overall, a pretty good attacker. In my opinion, he's a little outclassed. Nonetheless, really great design and still a good attacker, so another monster I would consider buying, but once he dropped to 800 coins. And next we have Darmith's Pet, and this monster is as vanilla as they get. All of his skills, they don't really do too much. There's nothing too impressive about his skills. Like your typical fire monster, he can give burning. He has an AoE burning, it's 30 damage, and he can give himself a damage boost, but that's about it. His other skills, nothing really too amazing. The best skill he has is called Blitz. It's 60 damage and it has no cooldown. It only costs 28 stamina. So using him in a team wars involving fire and metal, where the enemy has a Timerion and can do cooldowns activated, Darmith's Pet would probably be your best choice just because of Blitz. But other than that, I really don't see him being used that much. And I'm gonna skip talking about Holter's Pet just because they're sells, and if you do want Holter's Pet, just wait till next month or the following month. I guarantee you he'll probably be in the shop for 1,000 coins, maybe 1,500, 1,150. He's definitely gonna cost a lot less than 2,500. And last but not least is Alces' Pet. And all I really have to say about this monster is that in terms of Team Wars, in terms of using a nature monster, he is probably going to be one of the best monsters to use just because he can apply negative healing to the enemy monsters. Negative healing, just like how it sounds, when an enemy monster heals, instead of healing, it's going to take damage. Which is great, right? Because a lot of nature monsters have healing effects. Aside from that, Alces' Pet can also heal the enemy monsters, which seems a little weird, but again, when you consider that it can give negative healing to the enemy monsters, that's perfect. You give them negative healing, the nature monster monsters heal themselves, which basically they're killing themselves, and then Alces' pet is hitting the enemy monster, which basically drains their life. An incredible monster, especially for Team Wars. Aside from that, it's immune to possession, which makes him usable in Team Wars involving magic monsters and in Team Wars involving dark monsters. Alces' pet also gives shield block to enemy monsters, so basically they can't use a shield for 3 turns, any shield they have will disappear, so this is also good against earth monsters. So I definitely think this monster is worth buying. However, the price at which he costs right now, 2.2k coins, that I don't think is worth it, so I would not recommend this monster. So let me make this clear, I do recommend this monster, however, I don't recommend this monster for this price. Especially when you can just look to the side and see Darmus' pet there, see Thetys' pet somewhere over here, and you know they're gonna cost a lot less. So even though he's a good monster, I would personally recommend that you just save your coins and just wait for him to cost less. So now to the monsters I would buy and in what order. Number 1, I would get General Darmith. Number 2, Cyan Nathura. 3, General Alces. 4, General Uria. 5, General Holter. 6, General Shannara, and at that point I would actually stop buying monsters. 800 coins, that's the most I'm willing to pay for a general. And also, one last thing before I end this video, it might be beneficial to just save your coins because no doubt Social Point is going to give us a fraternity team event. If you're new to Monster Legends and you don't know what that is, it's basically an event where if a team member buys gems, all of the other members in that team, they get free war coins. And during the time they do that, Social Point will typically put in runes in the team shop, and they also bring some exclusive monsters, usually lasting like 3 days. Last month they brought some of the pets back and General Thetys. General Thetys was available for 1.1k coins. If General Thetys comes back in the team shop, I recommend buying her before anyone else. Even though she costs more than 800 coins, you have to get her. She is like a must-have monster. So that's all I really have to say for this team shop update. Thank you to everyone who watched it from the very beginning to the very end. I know it's probably getting repetitive for some of you, but nonetheless, thank you so much for watching it. Be sure to let me know in the comments below which monster you're planning on buying. Let me know if you're planning on ranking up one of your monsters or what are your plans. With that being said, I hope everyone has a great amazing day or a great amazing night. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions.